What's the Game of Thrones saying, Mary?
Game of Thrones?
Yeah, what's the saying? What's the topic of this tutorial?
Oh, dark and light.
Dark and light. That famous Game of Thrones saying. It's not even a saying. It's winter is coming.
That one.
Well, with that fact, winter is coming. And that brings with it a whole lot of issues that you wouldn't have necessarily need to think about in the summer that we're going to touch on today in this fun video.
And I've given you a little clue of what's to come.
Dark and light. The thing is, in winter, you have to make all the decisions you would normally make around your training, but then on the top of that, you have to make decisions based on whether you're running in the light, but also at night, well, in the dark, because the chances are, in the winter, if you have a job to go to as well, then you're going to be training either in the morning or the evening, and that means dark times. So I'm going to run you through all of the things I think about for light and dark, day and night. We're talking about clothes, clothing accessories, footwear, and most importantly in the winter, in the dark, safety. Let's talk clothing first, because in the daytime, especially on a mild winter's day, you have less decisions to make, but someone wiser than me once said, there's no poor weather, just poor clothing choice. And that's quite relevant today, because how warm is it?
It's really warm. I actually want to take this off.
We're probably overdressed, so I'm wearing a top, a t-shirt and a base layer. What are you wearing?
I've got my jacket and just a base layer.
So maybe overdressed, but the thing is, the key to training in winter is layers, right?
Yeah.
As Mary Berry would say, layers, but it's about being able to take something thin off, put it around your waist, store it away, because you can get too hot or too cold quite quickly, and layers is the key. But you'll probably notice that we're not very reflective in what we're wearing today, which would be very, very different when we're training in the dark. Because in the dark, whether it's morning or nighttime, actually, it doesn't matter. There's a couple of other things that you've got to take into account. And the first thing is that it is going to be a little bit colder, probably, than in the daytime. So in the morning and the evening, you've got still the layers, like I'm wearing this luminous now top, t-shirt and base layer, and I have that on the whole time. But like I mentioned, luminous is the name of the game, or at least very high visibility, because in the dark, whether it's morning or evening, I want to be seen while I'm out there with the clothes that I'm wearing. And there are some other things that I can do to be seen, but we'll get to that later when it comes to accessories. But at the moment, I'm making sure that I'm wearing a luminous top, and even as a bonus, my shorts here, as much as they're black, they have the reflective material. So if I was to take this outside and shine a torch on them, or if a car was coming past, even though they're black shorts, the reflective lights on the side, you'd be able to see, watch this, they light up. So now it's, I've left the torch on my face. So now it's just about going out there. And then when I'm out here, I can feel comfortable in the knowledge that not only is the clothing choice kept me warm, but it's kept me visible and safe, and I think that's quite important. And in terms of clothing accessories, as you can see, again, because it's a very mild day, we've not got anything on, any extras, but that can change very quickly when the weather is very cold, or again, when it's dark. So I've now grabbed all of the things that I can think of that I wear throughout the winter that kind of helps me get through the winter and helps me tackle that whole quandary of, you know, when you start running and you're quite cold, but you quite quickly warm up, and you want to be able to transition between kind of items of clothing and stash bits if you get a bit warm. So these are the things that I've kind of noticed or come up with over time. And the first one is very simply a thin pair of gloves, because really what makes your fingers cold at the start of a run is the wind bashing against it rather than the actual cold, and they heat up really quickly. So gloves, these are a bit dirty because I've used them cycling as well, but gloves is my first go-to, and they're the things that you can quite easily stash in the pockets straight away. But moving on, I did start off with a hat, and I used to wear a complete hat while I was out running, but what I found was I needed some of that heat to go through my head. It wasn't, I needed to cool down rather than heat up, so this was causing me to itch a little bit, and it was actually making me uncomfortable while I was out running. So I transitioned to ear defenders, so I still have that kind of ability to lose heat through my head, so that while I'm running, obviously I need to cool down rather than heat up a lot of the time, but it keeps my ears, because these are the extremities and these are the bits that you want to keep warm. So ear defenders, or I don't know what they're called, I think maybe just ear defenders or running headband, they're a good shout too. And also buffs, and if you don't know what a buff is, it is simply a thing that you literally pull over your head. It's got a hole at either end, and you wrap it around your neck, and it keeps your neck warm, but also you can pull it over your face if you really want to warm your nose and mouth up at the start of run. You can even get the buffs. I use this for cycling in the really deepest of winter. This has got the thin part at the top, but it's got a nice woolly, can you see that? Got a nice woolly style layer that really keeps the neck warm, in the deepest of winters. I've been on cycles before. I used to cycle to work every now and then through the winter. It was 45 kilometers each way. And I've had incidents where my drinks bottles have actually frozen on my cycle to work. So by the time I'd got to work, it had turned into a slush puppy. And the final tip, and this one I stole from Sam, who does the Fitness Freaks podcast with me, is that if you wear long socks rather than leggings, if you do get hot, all you got to do is roll them down, expose a little bit more skin to the elements to cool yourself down. And that's the same with arm warmers. So Sam wears arm warmers rather than long sleeves, and all he does is, if he does get too hot, he rolls the arm warmers down into sweatbands, and again that exposes that little bit more skin, so it just gives you a little bit more flexibility in adjusting to those temperatures whilst you're out, whether you're too hot or too cold. Amazing idea, thanks Sam.
Even footwear can vary greatly. Mary, what are you wearing?
I've got my trail shoes on today.
What are they?
Nike Air Pegasus Trail.
And they're Gore-Tex.
Yeah.
So you have the added dimension of when you go off-road, you're going to get wet feet potentially, but Mary's got the Gore-Tex version of the Nike Pegasus, which keep her feet toasty and dry, and I'm running in Saucony. They've got a bit of a deeper grip. Yours you found quite slippy on really greasy, muddy terrain, didn't you? But mine are a wider grip, bigger grip, deeper grip, keep me safe. But in the night, I tend to stick to the road a lot more, so I'm wearing my Nike Air Pegasus 37s this morning. Sometimes it's my Asics Gel Nimbus, but I find that the roads are a lot kinder to ankles and stability than off-road. Although I do sometimes go off-road, it is road for me, and it is road shoes. And last but definitely not least is your safety in winter. And as you can see from the both of us, we're not very reflective, we're not very visible, but we're running in the middle of the day on trails, so there's no traffic, so we don't have to be. But what we do to keep us safe, even in the winter, even in the daytime, is we always take our phones with us, because you just never know when you're going to get caught out by bad weather or anything really. So having your phone with you, and I carry it in a flip belt here, having that with me just gives that extra layer of safety, that extra layer of reassurance that I'm going to be okay. Do you remember when I called you that time because I got lost in the hills, Mary?
Yeah.
Mary had to come and pick me up. I had no idea where I was. My phone had no GPS signal as such, but I could get a phone call out, so it saved my skin on a number of occasions. And I would always say, in the winter, go out with your phone. But it's a different story in the dark, because you definitely need to be even safer, even more visible.
One thing it is worth investing in is a really solid head torch, a really good one. I'll talk you through it a bit more, but what you're looking for is a head torch with a good amount of lumens and comfortable to wear. I go with Petzl. Let's see how powerful this little bad boy is. Mare, can you shine this out the window on me out there now that it's dark, and we'll see just how powerful it is.
Sure.
Thanks. I'll go downstairs and go out the window. I'll turn the light on. Hang on, so just do it when I get down there, yeah? So you need a head torch that's going to make you confident in knowing where you're going. It's got to be bright enough, so Mare, turn it on. Oh, blimey, that is super bright. Turn it off, Mare. Oh, that is better. I think that's just burned my retinas. That's maybe, if anything, that's too bright, Mare. Okay, so maybe that was just a bit of fun, but the sentiment is real. The sentiment is there, and that is that when you're looking for a head torch, you've really got to be confident in the one that you pick. And I don't just mean confident in terms of its comfort, so this is the Petzl and how it sits on my head, but I mean in terms of the visibility it gives you, in terms of the safety you feel whilst you're running out there. And this Petzl has been my go-to for a good number of years, and I really like it. But bear with me 1 second. Up and Running gave me this LED lenser to test, and this is, as much as it's lighter at the front and it's smaller and the battery pack is at the back, so this one's battery powered and the Petzl is USB charged, but this one, the visibility is absolutely phenomenal, and in terms of me feeling safe out there, it covers such a wide angle, and the power in the lights are there. And also I've got this Silver Scout 2 to test, so I'll do a review on these two at some point in the future. But finding a head torch that's right for you is the first step. And once you get a head torch sorted, and I'm gonna stick with my classic trusty Petzl for this run, you've also got to think about what other ways can you be visible. And a friend of mine bought this for me, and I was quite skeptical, but actually a chest strap. If you look at this, not only am I visible on chest, but I'm visible from behind as well. That just makes you extra super safe. And there is one more thing, and that's these reflective snap bands that you can buy really cheap, and they basically just snap round where you want them to snap on your calf. Just that extra layer of reflectiveness, again, here, nice and cheap. So now it's all about just getting out there and being visible and running.
So hopefully you can see I'm lit up like a Christmas tree out here in this morning, just to prove a point that as much as it is about warmth, it's about visibility, and these are some of the options you've got. And that sums up how difficult and how many things you've got to think of when it comes to training in the winter. But hopefully that just gives you a brief overview of all the things we think about, some of our tips and tricks when it comes to training, how we get out the door and how we stay safe. That was a good run.
I loved it.
That was really good.
Oh.
I've actually got to go and record the other half of this in the dark tomorrow morning at 6 AM. Fun. Yeah, because it's really good fun trying to film at 6 AM on multiple mornings and remember what you want to say and not get it wrong and get the run done and get in. Yeah, great idea, Ben. Yeah, well done. Anyway, I hope it brought you some value, and I'll see you on Sunday for a really exciting announcement. I don't know if you're able to see any of that because it is pitch black. There's no street lights where I live, but hopefully you saw some of it, or you got the point, or, you know, maybe you switched off. I don't even know. Fun, fun, fun.